Hello, everyone. We are so excited. My name is Erica Whitaker. This is my co host, Nick Henderson, and we are absolutely thrilled to welcome you to episode 1 of Hit Season. So, today we are going to talk to someone who is a 3-time world champion, travels the world teaching co-ed stunting, tumbling, anything in the cheer world. If you've heard of it in cheer, he has done it. And I am absolutely thrilled to welcome Cameron.
Hey y'all, how's it going? Coach Cam.
Hey, Cam, how are you?
I'm awesome. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Thank you so much for joining Hit Season. We're so excited to get this kicked off and with a great person like yourself.
Yes, sir.
So today we really want to just deep dive into your experience with cheer, how you came about into the cheer world, what you're currently doing now, and where it leads you to today on Hit Season.
So, for those who didn't know, guys, I played football my entire life. I was a meathead, like football is life. And then one day somebody's like, hey man, you want to go to Disney for free? I was like, well, of course. And that led me into cheerleading and completely changed my whole perspective of the game. Ended up cheering at NC State. Realized I love cheer almost more than life itself. And I realized this is my passion. This is my destiny. And I need to figure out how to make this my life. And so I worked for a couple gyms. Worked for a gym called IEA. Worked for actually my own small startup. And I realized, I want to get more into coaching kids personally. So instead I took on the mantle of like a personal coach. And now I simply literally travel the world and literally just teach. Co-ed, stunting, tumbling, everything.
That's so cool. Really, when somebody first came to you and were like, hey, you want to go to Disney for free? And you said, obviously, of course. What really was the first perspective when you walked in and saw those cheerleaders and, that first impression of cheer? What were you thinking?
Honestly, I was like, I don't belong here. This is insane. This is scary. There's no way people are being thrown and flipped and caught and they're just doing it like it's nothing. I was like, this is insane. This is very scary.
Had you tumbled or done anything like that before that experience at Disney?
Zero experience.
So the only experience with cheer you really had was probably when you played football, seeing sideline cheer, right?
That was it. And my sister was a cheerleader. So I knew a couple of cheers because dad made us work with our sister. Besides that, I had no experience.
Was she a sideline cheer or did she do all-star?
She was game day, like no experience in All-Star. I didn't know what All-Star was. No idea.
Wow. So you go to Disney World, you hop in a car or plane, whatever, and you get to Disney World. Now, who invited you?
So that was actually my high school cheer coach. We did high school cheer, a lot more traditional style. And she was like, hey, we need big, strong guys to throw people. And she was like, if you can throw people, you can go to Disney. And I was like, fair, good deal.
That's awesome. So you end up in Disney. And now this world that was probably so small to you at your high school is now much, much larger.
Insane. I mean, literally almost every high school in the nation and the absolute best of the best all just like colliding head to head. Like the energy, the atmosphere, it was just like, it was overwhelming. Like my first day, I couldn't even handle it because it was just different. It's very different than North Carolina.
Absolutely. So I'd love to know, like, what was it? Obviously it's so great. You go in, you see all these amazing cheerleaders, athletes, coaches are so excited. But what made it be like, what was the moment that you said, I'm going to stay with this? This is the sport for me.
So, again, I played football my entire life. And, we've won a couple things, but it was never like a family, to be honest. In cheerleading, my coaches actually appreciated my effort. They showed me lots of love. And like, as a family, we won the first world championship of my entire life. And like something just about the sacrifice, the effort, the energy, just the bond I had. I said, I've never experienced type of love and success. And like, there's just no feeling like it. Like this is what I meant to do. It changed my life.
So you go to Disney, you compete. You get all the shakes out on day one. What did day two look like?
Day two was fantastic. Day one, horrible. I think I dropped every skill I had. I've never competed on a stage that large. Like the lights are blinding. My blood was pumping. I dropped everything. Like I felt horrible. And like, in football, your coaches are da 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 da, and like you're just very degrading sometimes. Again, not all football players, but against my high school. But my cheer coach is like, Cam, you're okay. Like, you can do this. You're an amazing athlete. You're here for a reason. Take a step back, breathe, and just understand like we're a family. Hit or not, do your job. Changed my mindset day 2, slaughtered it, came back with a dub.
That's incredible. The first story is always really cool to hear, like when it grabs that passion and it
Mm-hmm.
just keeps on going.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you go after that? What was the next steps for you?
So actually, I was like, this is fun, but I'm gonna quit cheer. I was like, like I went, I won, I'm back on football. But yeah, but then it was my senior season and the NC State head coach had saw me in competition. He said, brother, you're a great athlete, man. Like we can get you a scholarship, we can help you, just get your life set. I was like, I don't know about that. But I started doing clinics. I started again, I traveled a little bit and I'm like, yo, this is amazing. And I get my school paid for it at the same time. Full ride scholarship, by the way. And it just like I was like, let's go.
You had a full ride to NC State.
NC State, yes.
For cheer.
Yes. Now, granted, kids, get your grades up, okay? It's not pure athletics. You have to have good grades. But with the good grades and then the athleticism, it paved for my entire way through school.
That's incredible. That is just, and I love that you are focused. So many cheerleaders, you've seen it, in gyms. We have young children who they just want to be in the gym. That's it. They just want to be in the gym. They live in the gym. They eat, sleep, breathe it.
Yes.
But it's so important to remember that academics, it all plays a big role in that.
Major role.
So did you do any type of cheer? Like, once you kind of got back in, he wiggled his way back in. What was your next steps?
So actually my next steps were went to NC State, realized I hated school. Worst thing I ever did in my life. For me personally, it wasn't that. I think the trek is really good for most people when you have a game plan. I didn't, but I knew that cheer was my passion, so I had to realize, okay, Cam, how do we take this passion and formulate your future? Because it's not just a couple years you're in college. This is the future. So I just started to talk to gym owners, talk to people in the game. I'm like, hey, like, what is it like as a cheer coach, as a gym owner, as an athlete? And I just got all the information available possible. And from there, I just, made my next moves.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic, right? The perception. Because a lot of people will come into a gym and they are from the parent perspective. Or they might come into a gym and they are from the coach perspective. Or they're a gym. There's so many perspectives of cheer, and depending on where you lie and what you're bringing into that experience can really dictate your experience overall, right? So talk to us about the experience of you going into a gym as an employee, as a coach. How is that different from going in as an athlete?
So, I think for a lot of younger coaches, the pressure and the expectancy is very different as an athlete. As an athlete, these are my friends, these are my buddies. As a coach, you are creating the next athlete. You're creating the next person. So you have to kind of like understand there's a difference in like friend to coach. You have to actually study the game a little deeper. You have to understand that not every athlete responds the same. If you want to produce the best athletes possible, you have to actually take a very humble step, if I can say that better, and understand each person on an individualistic level and kind of be a lot more mature than you would expect. As an athlete, and they'll understand, like, these kids look up to you insanely. They might not say much to you, but they act a certain way. They'll do certain things. So, like, you have to understand your position, no matter how you may perceive yourself. These kids look up to you in an insane light.
What do you think is the secret sauce that if you were to look at coaches, in gyms and, schools, what do you think is the secret sauce, the one thing that they have to have first and foremost?
Man, that's a tough one. To be extremely honest, respect. Like, you have to have that respect. Like, if your athletes don't respect you, you're not going to be able to build or do much of anything. I don't care how good of a coach you are. Like, if you can't get that respect from your kids and establish that relationship, you have to like me, but you have to respect me. That's the most important thing for me personally, that respect factor.
That's a hard one, right? Because
Very
kids are learning and they're soaking up all this information, and some kids are in the gym for a very short period of time throughout their week, career, whatever the case may be. But then there's other girls or guys that are in the gym that are there all the time. And I know our daughters are at the gym all the time. If they could put a cot in the back by the tumble track, they've actually talked about several times putting sleeping bags underneath the tumble track because they just want to be there. They want to soak it up as much as they possibly can. And so, that track is very different. But when you have an athlete that is in the gym all the time, those relationships are more familiar to them. And those coaches, they look like almost like a friend to them, not a coach or an authoritative figure. So have you had an experience where you were in a situation where you were more in a friend situation turned coach, and now I have to kind of put that fine line in the sand?
As a young coach, 100% happened all the time. Until this day, it still happens. I have to realize, Cam, you're a coach, not their friend. And again, I love the kids. I love to be their friend. But when those lines get blurred between friend and coach, it's so easy to allow like little mistakes to happen. Like, oh, it's okay. Like, you did your best, as opposed to, no, this is how we do. This is what we stand on. This is our skill set. Right. So to answer your question, yes. Yes, as a young coach, yeah.
What do you think, as for a new coach out there? Again, you talked about respect. You talked about, having those, those very clear lines of I'm a coach, I'm a friend. But what about for a coach that maybe has been in the game for, years and years? Maybe they're an owner, maybe they're a long-term tumble coach, and they're still struggling, with having those relationships, having those skills. How do you get them reinvested back into the gym, back into the kids? What do you see when it's not quite a new coach?
That's a great question. So I've experienced that myself personally, and there were a time where like I thought I'm done with cheer. I'm over it. This, that, and the third, and I can't speak to all coaches. It's taking a break from the game and figuring out what was my purpose in the first place of doing this. And if you're in a place where your purpose isn't being met, that's no longer your place. If you love the game like you say you do, but you can't find that passion anymore, take a break. Take a week, take 2 weeks, take a month. Understand your purpose, find your passion, and then go to a place that allows that to happen. That is my personal advice.
So that is a big topic for us, right? So with Hit Zero Media, a big reason why I started Hit Zero Media is my love for video, right? And so with that love for video, that's great. It's video. But at the end of the day, when we start to build this platform and you gain this audience, it's up to you, up to me, it's up to all of us involved that what do we do with this platform, right? How do we use this? It goes back to celebrities, right? They get this huge platform. They can go on any social platform, TV, whatever, and say one thing, and it provides so much influence to everyone watching. And so we want to be able to try to provide that same influence through the video, using the vessel. And that's what I tell all of our ambassadors. We're using video as a vessel to promote what we're trying to do. And that's a huge topic of ours, is these children, these athletes, these competitors, they go to a gym and they invest their time and their money and their effort and everything, and they pour into it. And some days, or one day, they may wake up and say, I'm not getting what I need. I'm not getting fulfilled. I'm not getting this piece of the equation, or I'm out. And so one of the big things that we're trying to help really navigate with athletes and really provide a ground to stand on is that that's okay. And what we're finding through a lot of interviews and talking with people and athletes and parents is that it is not okay. Like, it's being portrayed to them that it's not okay to have these conversations. It's not okay to be able to move on to a place that fulfills you better. So taking your coaching hat, taking your working at a gym hat, what is it like from your side looking at the athlete, that the athlete is moving? How does that appear to you? You've invested all this time, years of time and effort and just motivation to this athlete, and they come to you and say, hey, Coach Cam, I'm going to a different gym next season. How do you handle that?
As a coach, it hurts. It hurts deep because it's like, man, I poured my soul into this kid, this, that, and the third. So as a coach, you feel betrayed. And to those coaches, I definitely, again, I've been there. I feel it. But as a true coach, You got to understand your job is to train up that child in the way they should go, right? Like you're to build that kid, and then when that kid's ready to move on, you've done your job, point blank, period. And of course, it hurts because you've established that relationship, you put so much time into it. But take a step back and be appreciative of what you had a hand in creating. That's a part of the process I've had to learn to allow like myself to let go of these kids. Um, Again, I do a lot of high school work, so I've had kids for 2 or 3 years, and they go to college. It's like, oh, my kid's leaving. My babies are leaving, but it's like, Cam, you help to create that kid for that next step. So, for those coaches out there who feel betrayed and they get angry and this and the third, again, don't not to step on their toes, but understand your position. Understand what your true job is, and you gotta take the emotions out a little bit. You're to train that kid up, teach that kid, and push them to a new level. That's your job as a coach.
So you might be a part of the conversation instead of
Yes.
looking at your loyalty all in that bucket of, well, I spent all of my time with this kid, and now the athlete is moving on to another gym. I've done all the hard work for that gym. It's almost like taking the loyalty factor and understanding that I'm a part of this conversation, but the conversation doesn't stop with just me.
Right.
Absolutely. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on, sometimes it might not be for a lack of going to another gym. Sometimes an athlete is, these kids push themselves to the limit sometimes. And sometimes it's a mental health break that they actually just need a semester, a year, whatever it might be. They need some time off. How do you navigate through that of, where they might be considering quitting cheer or, moving on to another sport where it's all become all about this burnout and this burnout process. How do you navigate that?
That one's complicated. There's a plethora of different solutions. Top down in my order. First off, I think it starts at home as far as the parent to athlete. Like, hey, understand you are here to get skills, but I'm not going to like force you to do this. Again, cheer is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So like, if the parents are like, you see this kid doing this and that kid doing that, it's so easy to get caught up in, well, my kid should be here. Allow your child to grow properly. You're going to hear good coaches. You will hear them say, take your time. Perfect your basics.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Because at the top of the game, the most insane athletes you see, I can guarantee have that core foundation. I mean, that's part of the reason why they're where they were, because they took time to develop that foundation, or they took a step back to rebuild the foundation to be able to get to that next level. Secondly, after we establish things at home, go to your gym. If you have a good gym owner, you have good coaches, it should simply be a conversation. Whether A, my kid's burnt out, or B, my kid's ready to move on, and you guys just don't have what we need. Now, granted, choose your words wisely. Again, there's a lot of ego in it, because people do put their soul and it's their livelihood. But hey, my kid's burnt out. She's been doing this, and this, and you guys have done a fantastic job. I appreciate what you guys have done. We simply need a break. If you come about it the correct way, a gym owner or coach, they'll understand. Granted, I will advise, please do it before choreo. Once like choreo hits, it's like, it's kind of hard last minute. But again, like during the summer, where like you're not in season heavy, that's when the conversation should happen. That's when things should be moving around. Or the other side, hey, my kid they've done all the teams, their skills are here, and I'm trying to brag on my kid. I'm simply, putting, my kid's best interest at first. Like they've done everything, and we need to level up. Next season, will you guys have what my child needs to grow? I'm not paying all this money just for them to plateau. Like, we're here to grow, we're here to get skills, we're here to get better. Like as much as we love the gym, this is still a business. So, but in having that conversation, a mature, but put your foot down manner is just important. And again, good gym owners, good coaches, they understand this. And it's not going to be comfortable, but it's kind of a part of the process to peacefully move to the next gym or to take a break.
Yeah, someone has to be there to advocate, right? And
100%.
it really becomes tricky when you have an older athlete, right? You've got an older athlete, he or she is in their high school years. Their runway is starting to run out.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for some of the athletes who may have gotten a late start into cheer. So say, for an example, we have an athlete that is at a level 2 or a level 3, and we're a sophomore. We've got 2 years left. So if they want to continue this cheer track and this passion that they have, they've got a lot to do in a couple months or a couple years and a couple seasons to gain the information and the skills that they need for college. And so that can be really tricky where they're trying to advocate for themselves and then advocate for parents. And I really feel like the parents, they play such a huge factor, and they don't know that their words and that their influence to both the athletes, the gyms, and parents around them play such a huge influence. How do you navigate parents? Like, how would you, like, because there is a perception, right? We go back to earlier in the conversation, we've talked about the perception. Me as a parent, I am a parent, and I am an advocate for my daughter, and I'm also an owner of a media company that is completely ingrained in cheer. So I have two different perceptions that I can bring. How, as a coach, are parents perceived? I know. Be raw. This is raw. This is hit season.
Oh, man. So I'll speak for myself, nor the coaches. Realistically, I actually love the parents. Equally, hate the parents. It depends on the parent. Like, it's very hard, but I'll say the best parents put their kids first, not themselves first. Like, the best parents. And when the parents truly desire for their child to be in the best position possible, it's an easy conversation. You know, hey, this was going to take for your kid, this, that, and the third. When the parents put themselves first, as in, I want my kid to do this, 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 this. Well, I understand what you want for your child, but not to be rude, you don't cheer. You're not a professional. You simply see what social media says you should do, and then you base your perception off of that, as opposed to talking to someone who's been in the game for a decade plus, 20 years plus, instead of talking to college coaches, some high school coaches. Mainly I would, talk to your college coaches and gym owners, but that's the difference. I honestly love, like, there are some parents out there I genuinely love because they actually take time to ask questions. Advice to the parents: ask questions. Like, you guys are paying for your service to make your kids better. Ask questions with a humble heart. I'm not going to attack you with my questions. I'm going to ask with understanding. I think that's the best track as far as, parents being involved in the most positive way.
How do you handle parents? You have all kinds of parents. You've got back spot parents, you've got base parents, you've got those infamous flyer parents. How do you handle parents who might not feel like their kid is in the right position, whether it's, they want them to fly, or maybe it's more of a hard question where, flyers are the most important. How do you handle those tough questions when it comes to parents, when you really are putting their kids in the best place to succeed?
Again, I'm going to answer for myself. I can't speak for other coaches. And before I answer this question, I'm in a very blessed position. Again, I don't work for a gym. Therefore, my answers aren't tied to the success of the gym. Okay. I'm in a position where I truly believe in the kid being the best version of themselves. And so I'm going to pour into that cup no matter what it takes. So with that being said, for parents who, let's say, we're in different positions, honestly, allow your kid to try it. Like, as a parent, let's say your kid's a back spot, but in your absolute soul, they can fly. Your kid's a main base, but in your absolute soul, maybe they're actually a back spot. Let your kid try it. If you have to go take a class elsewhere where they offer that, go do it. I personally don't believe in sitting there having resentment and being upset about a situation when you can potentially actively change it. Let your kid try it. Go to where they can go try it. Again, conversation with the coaches. Hey, my kid's this, that, and the third. Coaches said, no, they're back spot. Okay, I understand that. Well, you guys offer flyer classes. Well, no, we don't. Okay, well, no disrespect. We'll stay on the team, but I'm going to let my kid go try a flyer class. I'm going to take my kids to a college clinic where they allow you to pick if you want to be a base, back spots, or fly. You get to choose. And then as a parent, watch your kid compared to other athletes. You're not comparing your kid. You have to be realistic. At a certain level and age, you have to be realistic. This is the standard. This is the ability. This is what my child's up against. This is what they're going to try out against. So to set your kid up in a positive way, Also, parents, be realistic. But again, your child may be taller than other kids. But at the same time, if you allow them to go to a flyer clinic and you see, oh, they're actually smacking skills to the top, they're hitting really well. They might not be doing the toughest skills, but they look super clean. They might not be able to do the toughest skills, but they're learning very fast. Your kid has potential. If your kid is the smallest thing out there, but they're falling all over the place, they're elbowing people, they're not like picking up the corrections. Okay, maybe my kid should focus a little bit more on tumbling. I'm gonna keep them flying, but as a parent, you have to be realistic. We're not gonna crush any goals or dreams here. But I'm gonna be realistic with my kid and put them in places to be successful. Because again, sorry, I get long-winded. As you get to the next level, they are trying out for spots against other kids.
Yeah, it's setting that realistic expectation, right? And it's hard. It goes back to what we talked about with you're advocating for your child, and your parents tend to know the child best, but that doesn't mean that they know the child best in that situation where they are not
Well
the
said.
professional.
Well said.
Right? So they could be in a situation where the parent is the less educated one in that situation. And I think that's tough. I know as a parent, I've been in situations where that is tough. You think you know what's best for your child and you want to see them succeed. And there's nothing better than to seeing your child practice and work and grind and then get out on the mat at a competition and just completely crush it. Right. It's the best feeling as a parent for sure. And I know you probably feel the same way. And it's just one of those things when you see that, it just lights a fire in your belly to like, whatever I can do to help you continue to grow, let's go. And, that's been something that's been really challenging. I know for me over the last couple seasons, our daughter did not have a cheer background. This is going to come as a big shocker to everybody, but she tried dance before. Imagine that. She's the first cheerleader to ever try dance before, cheer. And so she tried dance, and it just wasn't exhilarating enough. So she came to cheer, and I'll never forget this, and I've told this story a couple different times to people. She showed up 3.5 years ago to the gym that we're at now, and she had one skill, and that was a cartwheel. And that cartwheel was all of just a cartwheel. It was nothing special, but it was a cartwheel. And so we signed her up for a program where she could get introduced to cheer. It was like an intro to cheer class, essentially. And she came out of that cheer, the class for the first time, and one of the coaches said, "Where does she cheer?" And we said, "She doesn't." And they said, "No, you're joking with us. Where does she cheer?" And we said, "She doesn't." And they said, "Please keep her in cheer. She has a natural ability for it." Now, I know this sounds crazy because it's my child, and I'm sure there's so many parents that have said, "My child has a natural ability. She came from dance, and all of a sudden she's a wonderful cheerleader." But you take the steps as a parent to really go back and look, and we videotape a lot. Imagine that. And so we go back and we humble ourselves and we look back. So bringing it back home is that 3.5 years ago, she walked into that class, no cheer experience, and a cartwheel. And now we're 3.5 years later. She's tumbling at almost a level 5. She's flying at almost a level 4.5, 5. And she's only been in the game for 3.5 years. So is this something that you are seeing with the younger athletes getting introduced to the sport younger and younger? And they're hitting almost, the plateau is not running out of runway. It's now they're hitting a plateau of they're learning these insane skills and insane tumbling passes. Where do they go from there? How as a coach do you help harness that?
That's tough. That's super, super tough because it's something I see quite often, and it makes me worry for the game because it's just different. Like, we haven't seen athletes perform like this at this age, at least not in my lifetime, just to progress so fast. But to handle that, in my perspective, chase perfection. I know that sounds really insane. Chase perfection at a base level. I love to see these kids throw these insane passes. I think it's a wonderful and beautiful thing, but like, make sure you're not so success hungry. You're like just throwing skills. And it's great. Get these kids doing the best that they can do while they're young. But at the same time, perfect your basics. A lot of kids end up getting hurt. They're so busy chasing these massive, crazy, insane passes that like you didn't perfect some of your basic skills. So now you're trying to combo this stuff and physically you're not ready. mentally you're not ready. Like you might be able to do the skill. Do you understand the skill though? Do you really understand the skill to combo it? Um, so my thing is chase perfection. Like if all you got's a cartwheel, that better be the best cartwheel I have ever seen in my life. If all you have is a back handspring, that better be the best back handspring of my life. And a great comparison I use for my kids are look at gymnasts. Gymnasts start off young, but they tumble for years. As a result, however, they're some of the most phenomenal tumblers in the literal world. There's a reason people talk about Simone Biles like all the time. And like if you ask her, well, how long have you tumbled? Like what was your progressions? I mean, I tumbled for like 20 years of my life and I just did cartwheel, cartwheel, cartwheel. But like I promise you, if you ask her about a handstand, like or a simple handstand, she can tell you every small intricacy. So because she has that amazing, almost perfected base level of understanding, she can do whatever her mind wants to do. Honestly, like there's a reason she can break barriers and bound like all these things. So I love the young generation. I love how fast they're learning, but I'm telling you guys, chase perfection of your basics. Don't have a good layout, have a perfect layout. Like your coach should be shocked. Not like, okay, good job. Your coach should be like, oh, yo, like, hey, can you do that again? Like perfection. Your layouts are perfect. Your full is perfect. Like chase those perfected basics.
I love that, especially when you think about, a lot of these girls, because they started young, they learned like back walkovers and front walkovers and, some of the non-fun, they're jumping to the back handsprings and the layouts. And, but then all of a sudden you get into level 4 class and these girls can't do a back walkover. They can't do, a beautiful back handspring. And so I really appreciate what you're saying when it comes to having those small skills, and you have to have those small skills.
A little bit biased, sorry to cut in, but I'm such a proponent of strong basics because as you do get in the start, you get in the we'll say stunting, we won't even say co-ed or all girl. You start doing back handspring ups, you start doing rewinds, you start doing cartwheel ups, you start doing hand in hands, and you're doing these super insane elite skills that are predicated upon a perfected basic skill. So I'm like, kids, like there's so many kids that don't have a handstand. You can't talk to a gymnast and say, hey, how's your handstand? They have a bad hand. Like I promise you, gymnasts have perfect handstands. So if I were to go to a cheerleader and a gymnast and try to perform a hand in hand, which is a handstand in my hands, most gymnasts will hit that skill and never float in their lives. There's no reason a gymnast who doesn't ever fly is doing skills that a flyer who's cheered for 8, 9, 10 years can do. So I'm like, kids, I love your growing. Perfect your basics because they will catch up to you as you hit that next level. I see it all the time, and I have to reteach and reteach. And parents are like, well, Coach Kim, I came here for a stunt lesson. Why are we tumbling? Well, the skills that you desire to get into your favorite school, Alabama, Florida, I don't know, NC State, go with back. Your kid can't do the basic requirement to even do the skill. So how can I teach your kid the skill you want to get into your school? They all got that basic skill. So that's why I'm a huge proponent of perfect your basics.
Yeah, that's a huge pet peeve of mine now that I've been watching cheer. You watch like a level 4 or level 5 senior team go out there and they're pulling, standing fulls and, back to full, like just all sorts of crazy passes. And then they go to do a back walkover and the knees are bent, the toes are looking elsewhere. And it's like, why? Like the full looked beautiful. Why does the backhand, the back walkover look like trash? And it's tough, right? That whole perfection is tough, right? Because as a parent and as just general society, we teach nothing is ever perfect. We teach that, you can strive for perfection, but nothing is ever perfect. And so something that I'm curious to hear your perspective from a tumbling perspective is, when the skill becomes perfect in the eyes of the coach and they are ready to move on to greater skills or a higher level tumbling class, at what point do you say, this is perfect, you can move on, versus I'm becoming a roadblock for this athlete for a particular skill or a particular pass that they may never be able to do? And that may be due to body issue where like joints or whatever the case may be. It may be due to a little bit of fear. Maybe there was an injury that was present before that they're just kind of have that mental block. But how do you keep enabling the athlete to keep progressing and moving forward if you know that there is a particular skill that they're never going to perfect?
Best tips I have for that. Um, Again, we'll never be perfect. That's why I said chase perfection. Your goal is not to be perfect. Like no one is, but if your mentality is to chase it and like get close to the best version of humanly possible, um, there is no skill you can't do. I know it sounds really insane and kind of crazy, but I just don't believe there's something you can't do. But let's say again, there's a skill that you don't think your child can do due to mental block, trauma, physicalities. We'll say find someone who can make that happen. Like I know it's easy to say, hard to do, but there's a reason that like there's like an open level 7. There's a reason for that because like people can do insane skills. So if your kid is stuck at a certain skill set, understand there's a couple things. Sometimes because their basics aren't good. They might have, let's use fulls. The biggest thing in cheer, not the biggest, but a lot of people want their full. They want their full. They want their full. They want their full. And your kid can necessarily do a decent full, but your coach has them still doing the pass. As a parent, you're like, well, they're doing the full. Why aren't we moving on? The full looks good. Well, does their round off handspring look good? Your kid's doing this on a spring floor, but you got to do this on the grass. Like there's a whole reason your coach may say, do it again, but I need you to squeeze your this and that because the skill itself, the full itself might be okay, but if your round off is sloppy and your handspring is sloppy, your full will be sloppy. Your skill is predicated and built on the momentum and the power going into it. Right. And again, on spring floor is all gravy. It's all good for kids who are going to the next level. It has been on the grass. So if you're not cleaning your skills up like your basics, you're not going to hit that next level. Um, and again, if you feel like your coach is slowing your child down, well, take them to a different coach. And it's not even being disrespectful. I would first have a conversation with the coach, like before I just yank my child. Well, they're not getting better. I'm out of here. That's messed up. Your coach did put time and effort into them. Give them a chance. Right? Again, not all coaches are the same, but you started with this coach for a reason. Okay, give them a chance. Have a genuine conversation. Hey, my babies are doing this skill for a long time. I feel like she's not growing. Um, from your perspective, coach, what does she need to do to grow? Like, take on that mantle first. Like, what does she need to do to grow? And then let's say you give it a week or two, she's doing what the coach asked. Well, coach, what can we do to get my child to the next skill set? What's it gonna take? Like, don't just kind of sit there. Like, you should be active with the kids. Like, be active. Like, ask questions. And if your coach can't give you clear, concise answers, or you're not satisfied, hey, coach, I appreciate your time, your effort, and your energy. You have two options. You can simply say, I'll be okay. I think I'm gonna go with somebody else. Or if you and that coach have a good relationship, well, hey, who do you recommend? All the time, I have people ask me, Cam, do you do, can you do this skill or that skill? Cam, do you do this or that? And I'm like, I actually don't have that ability. Like, I think I'm a pretty incredible coach, but again, I'm not even close to perfect. I'm like, hey, I know this guy. He can do this very well. I would go see him. If you guys still want to see me, that's great. But again, our goal is to get your kid to the next level. I'm taking my ego out of this. This is for your kid. So I will go see this person. Or I'll tell the parent, hey, I don't have this ability. I can't make your child do this. I need you as an athlete and a parent to go home and do this. Like, I can tell you all day to do a certain skill. If you physically don't have the ability, go home and stretch. Go do some push-ups, go do some sit-ups. Like, just having those conversations is just such a clear pathway to pushing past what as a parent, what you think your child can do or what your child think they can do. Again, technically your coaches are the professionals. Have those conversations, talk to them.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to change the topic just a hair. So you mentioned earlier, having those skills to do the back handspring up into those co-ed stunts. That is clearly what you are the master of. So talk to us a little bit about, what does that look like? What does it look like for a child to get, how did you start? And is it the future of cheer?
Can you ask your question one more time? I was a lot. Take a second. Take a second.
So, talk to me a little bit about how a child might get first involved in co-ed stunting.
So, kids, just go do it. Like I'm telling you guys, just go do it. Okay. I understand that your coaches might have you. They just go try it out. Okay. And again, it might not be your avenue, might not be for you, but go attempt it. If you're not comfortable, let's say your gym doesn't have a co-ed guy, you're not comfortable with it. My best recommendation is to go to a college clinic. Like literally, they have guys who just throw skills. And you can get a literal, especially if you're around like 14 plus, you can really just go like do some co-ed skills. See if you like it, see if you hate it, see if that's your thing. If you're a little bit younger than that age range, it's a little bit tougher for college clinics. I call your gym owner, call your coaches, and ask around. Hey, what guys do you know that offer co-ed? Just get your feet wet. Okay, it's an incredible adventure.
So a lot of people have questions concerning, okay, my athlete is currently on a all-star team and they're used to having, two bases and a back spot underneath them. Cam, how is that going to help my daughter when there's only one adult underneath her? How does that benefit me when she's on an all-star team? So how does that benefit the flyer? Where are the benefits that lie with that?
I love this question. Love this question. All right. So, when it comes to co-ed to all girl, a lot of people are like, well, Cam, I don't understand like why we should even work with you. She has 3 people. You're one guy. My thing is, I guess a little more old school. Do the hard work first. It makes the easy work easy. Okay. When it comes to co-ed, I only have this hand and this hand. Okay. So you have to be perfect. Okay. As opposed to group stunting, there are 6 to 8 hands beneath you. There's a lot more room for error. And so, um, if for a long time you have 8 hands beneath you, you're allowed to wiggle some. And after you practice for a while, you even understand that like you just naturally balance check. You might naturally do this on the third. When you have 2 hands beneath you, and like sometimes it might just be a thumb and a pinky, you learn to hit like the essence of a crispy skill. And just like a simple example, is handstands. Okay, I use hand hands a lot because like your handstand is like the basis of all things tumble. If you look at some group stunting, and again, I am not at all bashing group stunting. Group stunting at the highest level is better than co-ed. I'm the first person to say it. Group stunting at the highest level will outdo co-ed. And that's my personal take. Okay. But let's look at all-star level. Okay. You have hand to hands. Okay. A lot of these kids in their handstands are allowed to arch. And co-ed hand in hands, you're probably going to fall more than likely. If your guy is insane and amazing, maybe. But for the most part, like a good handstand, you need to be in a straight line. The reason that's just so important is because when you're doing all girl and you're allowed to arch, you're allowed to cheat. You're not doing it correctly. No one does a archy layout and then learns a full. You do a straight line, clean layout into your full twist. Okay. Another example is back handsprings, right? And a co-ed back handspring, which is the back handspring to a handstand. Hard concept to learn, but you're forced to jump to a line. You have to engage your muscles more. You have to be more aware of what you're doing with your body. As opposed to group stunting, you're allowed to arch into it, be a little bit looser. So co-ed to group, it's just co-ed when you're learning it, you just have to be more perfect. You have to understand your lines. You're not allowed to toe. You're not allowed to heel. You're not allowed to arch. These things make the entire stuff move, wobble, and break down. I tell a lot of my kids, learn co-ed and go crush all girl. If you learn the co-ed way, it is tougher, it is harder, it is more of a challenge. You'll destroy all girl. You can look at some of the highest levels in the game. Again, personal take. I know I'm gonna get a lot of fire for this. Let's say the highest in the game is Team USA. Okay, the highest level that you can achieve. There's a lot of co-ed girls who learn co-ed and then go try all girl and make it. Co-ed, and again, for those who know Gabby Butler, let's look at the Gabby Butler track. She came in learning all girl, but all of her cliques and camps are co-ed. Look at her build during all girl, and look at her build transitioning to co-ed. She's a stronger, smarter, more explosive athlete because for co-ed skills, you literally simply have to be a little tighter, a little more in your alignment. So that is my personal take.
And the thing with co-ed is it's blowing up. So
It's taking off.
there has been a lot of talk, right? There is a lot of talk, and it's becoming the like hip thing in cheer right now, right? It's becoming the let's do this. So we've seen a lot of spin-off of competitive co-ed for these younger athletes, which has been amazing because up until now you really couldn't compete with co-ed unless you were in a collegiate setting. So with that said, what are your thoughts on that? We've got Future Flyer Face-Off. We've got Stunt Showdown. We've got Flight Deck up in camp. We've got all these different opportunities for these girls. And I have heard some rumors that some of the athletes are even thinking about leaving All-Star Cheer and putting all their eggs in one basket with co-ed. How do you feel about that? This co-ed moving into the younger athlete and being able to compete?
That's a loaded question, brother. That's a loaded question.
I didn't say it was going to be easy.
So, my realistic take, I think it's insane. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's absolutely insane. Realistic take, I think it's really cool. It's extremely fun, but you're taking 5 to 10-year-olds for the most part, and you're putting them in the same position to do incredible skills. And I love that. These kids are learning things and experiencing things, and like they're understanding that whatever they put their minds to, they can achieve. I love that. I think it's incredible. Adversely, once they hit 11 through 15, how do their bodies change? Are they going to get taller? Are they going to get a little more stocky? Are they truly a flyer anymore? So then you hit this wall of, well, I'm 15. You know, when I was like 8, I was 4'2". Okay, example. Now I'm like 5'10", 5'11", and I think I can fly, but I don't know if I can fly. The world tells me I can't fly, but I know I've done these skills. They're in this weird, very tough mental space. So I think it's good if it's regulated. It's tough. Again, I'm a big proponent for the kids. I'm always kids first, and it's got to be regulated. It has to, because personally, you gotta understand. Parents have to understand. These guys are going crazy. They're going insane, and they'll be okay. What about your kid once they get older, right? What are the mental effects happening to your kid? Like that kid has to keep going. They don't get to just So I get as we grow, we try for certain teams. They don't get to choose their position sometimes. You try out for like some of these like the Top Guns, the Panthers, like some of these tough all-star teams. You try for college teams, you're gonna go where the team wants you to go. And so like, when I was 8 and I was doing back handspring double ups and 1-to-1s, and now I can't do it. It's a tough mental effect. So parents, I do encourage you guys to do it, but also have conversations with your kids. Be realistic with your kids. Again, like we do this so the kids can get better and have fun. Parents, you gotta, and personally, take a small step back, take your ego out of it. Okay, so that's my personal take on it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, you're looking at the kids first. So speaking of the kids, what do for a child that may not be a flyer, but they say, hey, this co-ed stunting, it looks really fun. How do I do that? What if your kid's a base? What if your kid's a back spot? How do you encourage those kids that still want to be involved in stunting, but maybe aren't really, a flyer material? Maybe they want to be at the bottom of that. How do you work with that?
This is something I've had to actually deal with myself. Understand that it's okay to have fun in cheerleading. It's not always the most hardcore, more serious thing. If you know you're a bona fide back spot, the best back spot in the universe, then be a back spot. But go still do go do a stunt lesson. Go have some fun. You've earned it. Like you've put the work in. Like go do it. Okay. And the chances that you'll fly are probably low, but you never know. And again, it's okay to just have fun. Mom, I know it's hard, and I love you so much, Mom. Please let me just do a stunt lesson. Mom, I know I'm a back spot. I'm not gonna lie to you, Mama. I'm 6'5". Okay, I should probably play basketball, but Mom, I want to go try this. And like again, like parents, allow your kids to do so. Like you are paying for a service. Let that baby fly. And again, afterwards, parents, be realistic though. Like, baby, this is for fun. Okay. And it's just that's my personal take on that.
Yeah, I love it. And I love, my daughter is coincidentally Zoe's back spot. But you know what? She's an incredible back spot, and she's had the opportunity this past year to actually base some too. So she has, gone between the two, but she loves it. She loves being a back spot. And it's so fun to watch a child that is, in this cheer world. She's learning to tumble, but the passion that comes off of her for being a back spot is incredible. And so it's so fun to see the different positions, whether it's, flyer, base, back spot. It's really a lot of fun.
And I think it's something that we need to do better at, right? Is as a cheer community is glamorizing the back spots, glamorizing the role of a main base, a side base, because as a daughter or as a parent who has a daughter that is a flyer, I truly admire the people that are under my daughter because they're the people who can keep her safe in that moment, in that routine. I can't do anything. Her life is in their hands, and I know it sounds really extreme that her life is in her hands, but
it's true. It's literally true.
If she falls from 10 feet at 9 years old, big injury. And so I think there's that special bond, and there's that, our daughters are pretty much best friends, and there's that special bond, and you'll ask, her daughter anytime, and she'll say, I'm never going to let her drop. And there's been times in routines, at practices and choreo where it's her, it's the back spot, and everyone else is kind of dumbfounded that the stunt is dropping, and she's grabbing limbs and hair and whatever because she knows her job is to not let that girl hit that floor. And I think if we can start glamorizing all of the positions, and it's not just the go to the competition and go and look up. What about everything that's underneath you? There's so much skill, there's so much passion that needs to be there because without this, it doesn't go this. And that really ties back to what you were saying before is perfecting or, striving to go to the perfection for the foundations. Without those foundations, you got nothing. If you don't have great bases and back spots, I don't care if that girl can do whatever skill in the air that she can do, she's not doing it. So I think this is a really great opportunity to kind of segue in. So we have this section, this little segment of part of all of Hit Season, and it's called Questions That Hit Hard. And so if you thought any of the questions that we had asked already were the hard ones, brother, we saved these ones for you. So we're going to take the next couple minutes, and we're going to ask some really hard questions. They're going to be more of a rapid-fire response and question, but we really want to get an understanding of, how you feel about these. So, Erica, I'm going to let you start.
Okay, so I am
y'all.
a huge proponent of the mental health aspect in the cheer, in personal and professional lives. I think it's so important. So, number one, how do you know when an athlete maybe has not even recognized it themselves, but they are in a mental headspace that is not healthy? What do you do?
I honestly ask them to take a break. Like my first thing is to step away before you hate and resent everything you're doing. I don't care if it's just scared of a skill or scared of a coach, scared of a routine. If it's affecting you that much, like you start to perform like way lower on a consistent basis, take a step back. Figure out why you love it. Figure out why you're doing it. Make sure you're doing it for yourself, not because mama, not because daddy, not because you're friends, right? Like understand maybe it is for that reason. Find your purpose and your passion. Take a small step away.
Mental blocks. Do you think they're real? Or do you think it's a crutch?
So, me personally, I don't believe in mental blocks. I believe in cleaning your foundation, understanding where the fear came from, why it happened, and then literally doing 1,000 reps. And I not kidding, do 1,000. Your mental block normally stems from fear of trauma, of doing a skill too early, or getting hurt from a skill. There's a lot of reasons, deeper than that, but find out why you're scared of it. Okay, understand that first. Okay. Get with somebody and a coach who's going to love you during that phase. Not like you, love you. Whether you need to be pushed hard, whether you need to be like very gently pushed. You have to go to somebody who loves you in that phase. And then from there, take small corrective steps to get better. If it gets deeper than that, literally, not kidding, see a therapist. Like if it gets that level, then that's just something super deep a coach cannot fix. But as far as like mental blocks, I don't believe in them, to be honest.
So we all know cheer is an outrageously expensive sport.
You could say that again,
yes,
Erica.
we all know that. But to cheer at that highest level, Top Gun, some of these incredible places, Stingrays. Do you believe that the price of cheer excludes some people based on financial stability?
100%. There are a lot of athletes who just don't have the financial means who don't get a chance. Not all athletes. Again, talk to your coaches. A lot of teams offer scholarships.
All right, last question, and then we're going to wrap this up. If you were to leave the cheer game today, you hang up your pink Crocs, and you leave the cheer game today, what do you do?
If I left cheer like today, I would honestly go in the woods, build a log cabin, and disappear from the world. That was my dream. I love cheer. Like cheer is my life.
I
So
love
after
it.
cheer,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh.
So those of
Without
you who
cheer.
get lessons and privates from Cam, if
Keep doing
you
them.
don't see him, we're going to have to check the Appalachian Trail, and that's a really long distance, so we'll have to send a search party.
Oh my gosh, Cameron, thank you so much. You were absolutely incredible to talk to. It was so great to hear a different perspective from, you're a male, you're in this co-ed world. Like, what does it look like? It was so fantastic to hear from you.
Yeah, Cam, I can't stress enough thank you. And for those of you who don't know, Cam actually is part of our Hit Squad. So those of you who are familiar with Hit Zero Media, we have an ambassador program. And our ambassador program is really designed to build up athletes and to take away their identity based off of the uniform that they wear or the gym that they cheer for. And we really just want to focus in on, at the end of the day, they are an athlete. They are a cheer athlete, that they put in the hard work, the time, the dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears. And so it's really great to hear from Cameron, who works directly with the athlete. He is not affiliated with any gym. He takes that agnostic approach like we do at Hit Zero Media and really just pouring into these athletes. So a big thank you to Cameron for coming on to the Hit Season podcast. We're so excited to have been able to talk with him, and we'll see you out on the mat.
sounds good. I cannot wait to see you guys compete this season. I'm so excited.
We'll see you soon. Take care,
See you
Cameron.
guys.